So today I'm going to conduct a lesson about nouns. But before we start, I want to give you a recap based on the story we spoke about, the story of God's creation. Remember in the beginning, God created heaven and earth. God created number of things, your oceans, and I don't want to list all of them because by now you should know. So, those names that were given to the things that God created, we call them nouns. Now, I'm going to give you a very short definition of a noun. What is a noun? A noun is a naming word that describes a place, a person, or a thing. Example of those names that are very common. You can think of anything. Remember the trees that God created. Remember the ocean that God created. There are a number of them. So, but for our lesson, we're going to focus on common nouns. Yet, there are a number of types of nouns. We're going to focus on common nouns. There are also proper nouns, but I will explain that at a later stage. So, on the common nouns, I will give an example of a place. It can be a school, it can be a restaurant, or it can be a shop. A name of a person, it can be mommy, it can be your dad, it can be your sister or your brother. So, a name of anything you can think of. I task you to look around your household and identify anything that has a name. Can be your TV, table, it can be a chair. So we've covered everything about the common nouns. So now, proper nouns, that's when you give the actual name or a proper name. Say for instance, a school, you can say Addnum. A person, your mom and your daddy, you can call their actual names. A thing, maybe you gave your beautiful chair a name, you can call it that actual name. So now, I'm gonna go back to the table. This is the table that I assigned you to do. Here, I said you should list all the names or things that are created by God, up to 10. And then here, you list all the animals, up to 10. And then you list all the common nouns, things that you can identify in the house, up to 10. Right. So, when you're done with identifying those things, so we'll now think whether those things that are created, is it a single thing or there are many of them? So with those, we call them singular and plural. What is a singular? I can simplify it and say singular being single or one thing. But what about a plural? A plural, it's more than one thing. You can say double. When there are more than one, maybe two things. So that's how we simplify things. I always tell my learners that your plural, just take away RAL and it says plus. It means there is an addition. So, going back to our table. Remember, we spoke about God's creation. Ocean, it's one of them. So now, let's see. Is ocean a singular or a plural? Okay, it can be a singular, but it can also be a plural. But what is the difference between singular and plural? The difference is with plural, you add S at the end. Why? Because there are more than one ocean. There is more than one ocean. It can be Mediterranean Ocean. It can be, there are a number of them. Indian Ocean, Pacific Ocean, there are a number of those oceans. So now, let's move on to animal. Here I mentioned one example being a lion. Lion, singular, and then here, of course, there are so many lions. Unless if you have that specific one that you gave a name. For instance, you remember Simba, the lion Simba? So that is the only lion. So you can say, oh, it's only one Simba. But if you are talking about lions in general, it goes lion, and then plural, it means there are lions. So you're going to add your S. Come on. So let's think of a table. Singular, it's still a table. But when it's a plural, we call it tables. What is the difference between this table and the other table? The difference, this is a single table, and the other one, it's more than one table, which there is an additional S. So I want you to do this table for me, and then you submit, and then I will go through your work and give corrections. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.